Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Fakaruddin bin Muhammad Wazir. I'm a second semester student of finance in Faculty Management and Economy, and this is our group. We have two other members, which are Amar and Asmat. I guess you already know in the recent video. And in this video, we're going to discuss about two different companies, which are Berjaya Starbucks Sdn Berhad and Loop Holding, the owner of the famous local bubble tea brand Tea Life in Malaysia. Firstly, let me introduce two of my group mates for this project, which are Amar and Asmat. Amar and Asmat are my classmates since the first semester, and we decided to form a group together to fulfill these assignments. Muhammad Ammar bin Abdul Malik was born in Negeri Sembilan, and Muhammad Shahid Asmat was born in Selangor, same as where I was born. All of us were students in the same course, and for this assignment, once again, our paths crossed to work together for the task. Next, we will explain to you guys what was the purpose of these assignments. As a requirement to gather some carry marks to pass our final exam, these assignments is carried out to help us excel the semester. These assignments were assigned to us during the second class with our lecturer, Professor Madya Dr. Rohaila bint Yusof, and we need to submit it on 14 June 2023 today. The assignment assigned require our group to do some research about two different companies, and for our group, we have decided to choose food and beverages sectors involving the international brand Starbucks and the local bubble tea company Tea Life. What we should do is, we need to acquire both companies' financial statements consisting three documents: the consolidated statement of operation, balance sheet, and cash flow. Then, we need to do comparison by conduct ratio analysis to see which company performance are the best. Before we run the research, we first and foremost will execute investigation for both companies, started with Starbucks. I would love to tell you that I am currently work with Starbucks for almost 2.5 years as a store supervisor. And through my journey as partners, I share some of the knowledge that I acquired through my experiences. Starbucks is a well-known coffee trading company founded by Howard Schultz, Jerry Baldwin, Gordon Boker, and Zeph Siegel in Seattle, Washington in 1971. Starbucks starts as a coffee bean trading shop. Howard Schultz was inspired by the coffee shop tradition from his trip in Italy. And also, Howard Schultz's father was a coffee brewer, the experts in coffee brewing methods. Then, in 1972, a year after he opened the coffee shop, he and three of his other friends decided to improve his business to coffee-based products and beverages provider that we all know as Starbucks Coffee nowadays. Tea Life, on the other hand, was actually a small business that known as Cha Time. The story begins in January 2017 where two companies, La Cafa International Company Limited and Loop Holding Sdn Berhad that worked together in Cha Time business started to break apart after Loop Holding were accused on ethical breach. After the case, Loop Holding renamed their business as Tea Life and run their outlets as usual. To be exact, the cases were about ethical breach that Loop Holding were accused in cooperation with La Cafa International Company Limited during that time, and Cha Time then take the case to Malaysian courts for Tea Life to stop running their business but end up lose the case.
This is a Starbucks financial statement that we obtain. It contains net sales, net income, operating expense, earning per share, and finally total net sales for the Starbucks company. This is the balance sheet for Starbucks. In this, we obtain current asset, non-current asset, current liability, non-current liability, shareholder equity, and finally, the total liability and shareholder for the Starbucks company. This is consolidated statement of cash flow for the Starbucks company. In this statement, we got operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities for the Starbucks. This is the Tea Life financial statement that we obtain. It contains net sales, net income, operating expense, earning per share, and finally, total net sales for the Tea Life company. This is the balance sheet for Tea Life. In this, we obtain current asset, non-current asset, current liability, non-current liability, shareholder equities, and finally, the total liability and the shareholder for the Tea Life company. This is consolidated statement of cash flow for the Starbucks company. In this statement, we got operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities for the Tea Life company.
So next, we move to the ratio analysis Starbucks and Tea Life. Inequality based on current ratio. The formula to get current ratio is current assets divided by current liability. As we can see that In 21, Starbucks get 0.70, meanwhile T-Life get 1.23. In 22, Starbucks get 0.82 and T-Life get 1.44. So the analysis is T-Life is able to pay its short-term debit as they come due, whereas ratio is 1.23. Meanwhile, Starbucks needs to struggle meet its short-term obligation for ratio 0.70 in 2021. In 2022, T-Life is able to pay its short-term debits as they come due, whereas ratio is 1.44. Meanwhile, Starbucks needs to struggle meet its short-term obligation for ratio 0.82. So this is performance graph interpretation for current ratio for Starbucks and T-Life. Next, for quit or assist test ratio, the formula to get the answer is cash plus short-term investment plus accounts divided by receivable net current liability. So as we can see the result, Starbucks in 21, Starbucks get 0.119 and T-Life get 0.32. For 22, Starbucks get 0.18 and T-Life get 0.4. So the analysis for 21, as you can see that T-Life and Starbucks cannot pay each short-term valuation because the ratio are 0.54 and 0.32. Next, for 22, we can see that T-Life and Starbucks cannot pay the each short-term valuation because the ratio are 0.72 and 0.35. So this is an example of graph of asset test ratio for Starbucks and T-Life. Next, we move to the efficiency ratio. Based on asset turnover ratio, the formula is sales divided by average total assets. So as you can see, in 21, Starbucks get 0.32, meanwhile T-Life get 0.69. In 22, Starbucks gets 0.43 and T-Life get 0.61. So the analysis based on 21, the analysis is for Starbucks, the asset turnover ratio is 0.32, which indicate that the company generates $0.32 in revenue for every dollar of asset it owns. This ratio shows a relatively low level of efficiency in utilizing its asset to generate income. In 22, this ratio increased to 0.43, negating an increase of the efficiency of the use of interest asset in generating income. Then for T-Life in 21, the asset turnover ratio is 0.69, which indicate that the company earns $0.69 of income for every dollar of assets it owns. This ratio shows a relatively high level of efficiency in utilizing assets to generate income. Then in 22, this ratio slightly decreased to 0.61, but still show a good level of efficiency in the use of enterprise assets. So this is the graph of assets turnover ratio for Starbucks and T-Life. Next, we move to the inventory turnover ratio. The formula is cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. For Starbucks in 21, they get 14.5, and T-Life get 17.9. In 22, Starbucks get 8.56 and T-Life get 9.56. So the analysis is in 21, inventory turnover ratio. T-Life measure how well the company generates sales from its stocks, 17.9. It gets 17.9. Meanwhile, Starbucks measure how well the company generates sales from its stock is 40.5. And 2022, T-Life measure how well the company generates sales from its stock is 9.56. Meanwhile, Starbucks measure how well the company generates sales from its stock is 8.56. So this is the graph for Starbucks and T-Life inventory for turnover ratio. Lastly is shareholder ratio. Based on shareholder equity ratio, the formula is total shareholder equity divided by total assets. So as we can see, in 21, Starbucks get 0.17 and T-Life get 0.20x. And in 22, Starbucks get 0.14 and T-Life get 0.34. So as we can see, in 21, Starbucks, the shareholder for Starbucks, the In 21, the shareholder equity ratio is 0.17, which indicates that around 17% of the company assets are financed through the issuance of a share, while the rest is financed through loans of debit. For T-Life in TT1, the shareholder equity ratio is 0.28, which indicates that around 28% of the company assets are provided through the issuance of share. This shows that there is good support from the shareholder in the financing company. Then in 22, this ratio increased 0.34, indicating a further increase in financing through the issuance. This indicates that there is less dependence of loans and more support from the shareholder in financing the company assets. Then in 22, this ratio drops to 0.14, indicating that the company relies more on loan than on issuing share. This change can indicate increased financial risk due to increased dependence on debit. So this is the graph for Starbucks and T-Life for shareholder equity ratio. Then we move to the comparison between Starbucks and T-Life. In the liquidity category, ratios such as current ratio, quick ratio, and current cash debit coverage show that T-Life has a better level of liquidity than Starbucks in 21 and 22. This shows that T-Life has a better ability to pay off long-term debit short and fulfill their current obligation. Then, in the profitability category, Starbucks has a slightly higher level of profitability than T-Life. Ratios such as profit margin on sale, return on asset, return on share capital ordinary, earnings per share, and price earning ratio show that Starbucks produce greater profit than T-Life. However, in 2022, T-Life experienced an increase in several profitability ratio, showing an increase in financial performance. Next, in the efficiency category, T-Life show a better performance than Starbucks. Ratios such as asset turnover ratio, inventory turnover ratio, receivable turnover ratio, and account payable turnover ratio show that T-Life is more efficient in using the resources its own to generate income and manage credit given to customer and debit to creditor. Lastly, in the shareholder category, T-Life has a higher shareholder equity ratio than Starbucks. It's shown that most of T-Life assets are funded through the issuance of share, while Starbucks relies more on loan funds to fund its assets. So, overall, we can see that T-Life show better financial performance in terms of quality, efficiency, and shareholder, while Starbucks has a slightly higher level of profitability. However, it is important to do a deeper analysis and consider other than factor before making a final conclusion about performance of these two companies.
From these assignments, we know that financial statements are an important group of reports that summarize an organization's financial performance, financial condition, and cash flow. The main objective of these financial statements is to provide information about the economic resources and obligation of the business. Based on the ratio analysis between two companies, Starbucks and T-Life, we know that T-Life company is in stronger position than Starbucks in the industry. This is because T-Life's financial statement is more balanced than Starbucks. We can see that T-Life income is much higher than Starbucks. T-Life income gains are increasing year by year because profits are capital that can be used by the company for various purposes. The conclusion we can conclude is that T-Life is in a good position against Starbucks based on ratio analysis. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching.